Good morning, Grumpy Nation. Fancy and I are out on our walk this morning. We were kind of debating whether to go on it or not, because it finished raining probably 45 minutes to an hour ago, and it had rained all night long. In fact, it's so wet from the rain in the last week that the normally hard-packed road, that road you see us walking on, we're leaving footprints in all but the middle of the road where the tire ruts are. Everything else is super soft. There's water running down the ditches, and it's really humid. Come on. And we were debating it, but we decided to go on the walk anyway, because this is one of those times, like I said in another video, we do things when we don't want to, right? So this is good training. And coming up the hill, I had something on my mind, but I looking around and seeing the condition of the road and everything, I decided instead of talking about that, I'd talk about ingress and egress. Somebody had asked that I do a video on that, and I'd kind of been putting it off, but I think this is a good opportunity to talk about that. So I just finished reading the Area Studies Handbook by Mike Shelby. Fantastic book, good information, and it's a civilian version of the military idea of an area study. And don't let the topic or the words turn you off because it sounds too military. This applies to the civilian world too, and I'll explain why in here just a second. But anyway, so ingress and egress. What do the terms mean? So ingress is the ability or the route you take to get into an area or into a location, and egress is just the opposite. It's the ability or the route that you take to get out of an area or a location. Now, why is this important? You're sitting there, you think, I'm a homesteader, this isn't important to me. Yeah, it really is. And let me give you a real world example. Actually, I'm going to give you a couple of real world examples. So Angela has some relatives that live in and around Glen Haven, Colorado, and it's a beautiful area. And in the last 10 years, they've had 2 instances where their lives literally depended on their ability to get in and out of an area. The first incident, they had a huge forest fire up there in the mountains by Estes Park, and it got into the area which these relatives lived, and they had to evacuate. So where they live, they live up a side canyon, and they've got one road in and one road out. Now what would have happened if that fire would have cut that road off and they were stuck in there? They couldn't walk out, and so they would have been in some dire trouble. The second incident, I don't know if you guys remember the great big floods that they had like 8-10 years ago. Well, they got stuck where they lived. They literally could not get out. The Colorado National Guard literally had to come in and helicopter people out of this area because the canyon flooded and it washed away the road, and it literally took them 3 months to be able to get back into their house. Took them almost a month just to get 4-wheelers in there. You know, you're not walking out because there's mountains on either side of them, and you got to be a really experienced hiker to get in and out of there. And in fact, probably the quickest route walking out for a hiker was washed away because of the floods. So it's important. Same, you know, we're talking about country. If you live in a suburban area, Joplin, Missouri, whenever they had the massive tornado down there, they could not get emergency vehicles in and out because there was so much debris and everything across the road. So people had to walk out. So you had to know how to get in and out. Okay. So ingress. So first off, what you have to think about is, how do I get in and out of an area? There's several ways you can get out. You've got improved roads, unimproved roads. This one is considered by these terms an unimproved road. The improved roads are ones that are paved and chip and seal. But this one is an unimproved road. You've also got walking routes in and out of your area. And so we need to be aware of how these are. So most people live in the city or in a suburban area. And these areas are laid out in grids. You know, you've got, especially in the suburbs, most people know the suburbs. You know, you've got houses sitting back to backs, roads running in front of them. So if you live in the middle of that block, you've got one or two ways in, two ways out. Those get blocked off. How are you going to get out? You can't get your vehicle out unless you can drive through your backyard and then through your neighbor's backyard. You know, when we lived in the suburbs of Kansas City, you know, we had an alleyway running up behind our house, you know, splitting the two blocks. You know, so that allowed people in and out. And it's not just our ability to get in and out, it's other people's ability to get in and out. You know, rescue services, bad guys. You know, I hate to talk about it. And that was one of the concerns when we lived in the suburbs in that one area, because there was Section 8 housing on Section 8 housing on one side of us, and then the main street and the convenience store on the other side. And these people used to cut up that alleyway and up our street, you know. So there were people, and there were several times that we had some problems with thievery and somebody trying to steal our vehicle one night, you know. And they were walking through there, and it was just a crime of opportunity that they saw, and they tried taking it, you know. So these are things we need to think about. So look, it's a little humid out here. See, look at I don't know if you can see that down the thing. There's running water in the ditch this morning. So anyway, you know, and like I said, it's not just a military thing, it's a civilian thing, because we got to think about things like that. The road that we live on, you know, we've got basically two ways in there. We live in the middle of a road with T intersections on either end of it. And if it floods, in fact, it used to flood until they built the retention ponds. It used to flood this area, this little valley we're in, at least once a year. And so I don't know if you guys go back and watch a video, there's a concrete bridge near us. That bridge and the fields near it were underwater, so you couldn't get out that way. In fact, there's pictures of it going all the way up to the T, so you couldn't even get to the crossroad on one end. And on the other end, there's that little dry weather creek, and look at this. So here it is this morning. It's got water flowing through it right now, and it's kind of backed up. They brought a backhoe in last week after I showed it to you, and they backhoed that out, so it was supposed to be flowing, but we've had 2 really good rains, and it's already starting to get backed up again, you know. So and there's times somebody was telling me that at one flood, he grew up here, he said one flood somebody was trying to get across just that area right there, and their car got swept off the road, right? So there's distinct possibility that we could be locked into our place if we're looking to get out in a vehicle, you know. So that leaves us walking out. And if it's flooding like that, we can't walk out in one direction, because actually we can't walk out in 3 directions, because the river's running too high and it's blocked us in. If those roads are blocked, we can't get out in 3 directions. So that leaves us another direction to walk out, and there's no roads. There's no roads in that direction. So that means we're having to cut cross country. Now, one of the things you do when you're looking at your area study and you're looking at your ingress and egress routes is you look for alternative routes that you would not normally take. As an example, excuse me. As an example, there's a power line cut running that one direction that we can walk out. So in reality, I could probably take the truck and drive up that cut and get around all the flooding. Now I say that as a probably because I haven't gone up there and I don't know if there's any little wet weather creeks or anything crossing that thing. So I don't know. They might take the truck up there and find we get stuck. But still, you know, probably ought to do a better area study or do a map study on that and see if there's anything up there, and probably go walk it, right? So, and that's another thing. One of the reasons why I've got this pack on is because I want to be able to do long distance hiking. And part of the reason I want to do that is because I want to be able to walk out of an area if I have to. My old work, before we moved here, it was 38 miles door to door from our house to work. And I was training to be, actually I had trained up to where I could walk from my work to my house with this pack on. Not this pack necessarily, but a pack this size and this heavy, because I keep one in the car. You know, so we got to be physically fit. We got to be able to get in and out. So here's what I want you guys to do. I want you guys to think about how you get in and out of where you live. By car, by foot, by bicycle. Think about how you would do that, and go around the neighborhood or go around the area and look at your routes that you would take, your ingress and your egress routes. You know, and think about who lives around you and who might be coming in and out of your area and how they might be getting in and out. You know, you might be, you know, we live in an area where I'm not too terribly concerned, you know, beyond just basic security reasons about the neighbors and people coming in and out. We have a, how do I put this? We can tell people that don't belong here, right? Because there's so few people. We know everybody by sight. So we see people, and you know, there's times, for example, that people like coming out and they'll get these great big four-wheel convoys, you know, the four-wheelers and side-by-sides, and they'll come back on these country roads and they'll ride around the country roads. You know, in times of a disaster or times of heightened security, if you will, I'm going to pay a lot of attention to that. I'm going to pay a lot of attention into how and where they're coming from, right? Because that could turn into a very bad security arrangement very quickly, because they've got the ability to come in and out. Oh, and it's starting to rain again. But you know, okay, check this out. So we're down here by that dry weather creek I was talking about. Here's a better view. So there we've got the water running on that side, and you can see there's debris and stuff down there already, and you can see where just in the past couple of days it's washed down the side of the road again. And then I come over here and you can see it's running pretty good down there. You know, but things like this are things you need to think about. You know, we lived on a street growing up that every spring when it rained, the first time it rained really hard, the storm sewers would back up, and so the bottom of the hill that we lived on, the road would flood out and you couldn't get a vehicle out that way. You know, so don't think what I'm talking about is strictly prepper, you know, that militia prepper stuff where we're just talking military terms. This has real world applications for everybody, everybody that you know, your family, friends, everybody has real world implications. And we need to do this. This is part of being prepared and being modernly self-sufficient. You know, the tools, the tools, material, and skill we have on hand, part of that is intelligence. So we need to make sure that we're aware of our surroundings and we've got the proper intelligence gathered prior to anything happening, so that when and God forbid if the time comes we need to act on something, we're not going in blind, right? And that's one of the things about this channel. That's one of the ideas behind this channel is we want to prepare people for things that they may encounter. Come on, fans. We want to prepare people for things that they may encounter, so they don't just survive. We don't want to survive. We want to thrive. We want to be able to have our bananas and crushed ice at the end of the world, if you will. All right? Listen, thanks for sticking with me. I know this isn't something normal that I talk about on the walks, but I think it's kind of important. And this morning, like I said, because of the recent weather, it's on my mind. All right? Listen, if you're not a subscriber, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Oh, Fancy. She's on the trail of a rabbit. I just saw one jump into the weeds. But go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Come join our virtual community. Hit that notification bell. Comment down below. Let me know what you think about topics like this, and if these are things that you want to talk about on these walks, because you know, it's important and we need to talk about it. And I don't always have time to make regular videos anymore. That's why I like these walks, because they're easy to do while I'm doing. It's easy to multitask, all right? All right. If you want to support the channel, go to our links down below. Do one of the affiliate links and support the channel that way. Angela has a very special announcement for you guys. So be watching for that. Most importantly, I want you guys to go out today, think about what I said, and go pursue a life done free. All right? Take care. Thanks, Milo.